We will now go to the Q&A part of the session. Participants who would like to directly ask anyone of our panelists can raise their hands, and we will try to accommodate your questions, but we only have 5 minutes for the Q&A. I will now read from the questions sent via our chat box. For Dr. Jonas Baes from Tan Sui Beng, thanks so much for sharing the story of Iraya Mangyan and a bit of your music. Do you see your composition as a way to rejuvenate the music of the indigenous peoples besides informing others about their plight? That's one. What has happened to the musical cultures of the Iraya Mangyan today since they have lost their ancestral land? Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Beng. And I think you know part of the story because through the journey, I think you were there in the journey through producing this CD. I was thinking about this in long time ago, about 2001, 20 years ago. Oh God, 20 years ago. I'm that old, Rachel. In Sydney, and we were with Steve Feld and Phil Hayward, and I was reflecting on producing a CD on the Iraya Mangyan, and apparently I did so. And the big questions I was asking at the time, and I'll answer your question quickly into that. I'll go into that. Was because of this notion of, should I publish a CD in the first place? Why should I publish a CD? When apparently the Iraya Mangyan said that their tradition is dead. All I was recording were remnants of a dead tradition. That was what they were saying to me. And apparently it was explained very much by Angel Anyas, my main sponsor in the mountains, who said that because we lost our songs, because we lost our mountains. Songs, melodies have to do a lot with going up and coming down the mountains. Melodies are like going up and coming down the mountain. They have such contour that if you lose the mountains, you lose the meaning of the songs. So that the flatlands songs called the Bulaklakan of the Tagalog, which he says encroach into the Iraya Mangyan consciousness at that time in the 80s, actually shows how superseded, I think I would use that word, Iraya Mangyan culture is. So when I had recordings, so I actually exhausted all the repertoire of the old people in the area of Kaagutayan, and which came up with this CD, and I have like 30 more hours after this to publish. It was like they were telling me that your collection of our songs are only our memories. But again, I remember Steve telling me that songs are like memory gifts. And then he told me, you know, you're concerned about land. Songs are like land. They have to be returned. So that very symbolic return of this CD, of all almost all the copies of the CD to the Iraya Mangyan refugees in Kanlungan in 2003 was very symbolic, not only of returning the songs to them, but actually letting the younger generation be conscious of this. I have no knowledge, in fact, of what has happened to the elders at this point, because that was like a long time ago. But for the younger generation, I am still in contact with. I know that they are selling these CDs in public forums on ancestral domain. Now, regarding my composition was like a covenant, so to say, with the Iraya Mangyan, that my promise that I'll tell their stories, their stories to other people, to many other people. And apparently, those other people also included the people, indigenous peoples, who also suffered the same plight of marginalization, of the encroachment of transnational mining and logging industry in the rainforest. And apparently there are certain ways by which I use the aesthetics of the Iraya Mangyan, incorporate them in the composition and somehow bring it out. but still running. One last sentence. Still running within that very notion of composing and then producing the CD. It's the same question that my Mama Angel, my sponsor, asked me in 1986. What good could the study of your songs, of our songs, do in the disputes over our ancestral domain? And that continues to be a running theme in my work as a composer and a researcher. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Dr. Baes. We have another question also from Tan Sui Beng for Miss Professor Rachel Ong. It was fun watching the old Baba Nyonya singing and dancing. Thanks so much. How do the younger generation Peranakan express their identities? How are they different? Do you see homogenization taking place among the different Peranakan in Malaysia and Singapore?
Hi, yeah, but first I would like to clarify I'm not professor. So I just realized that my title is professor. Okay, I'll go straight on to the question. Yeah, Prof. Tan,
You
thank
will
you so
soon
much.
be. You will soon be, right? In
Long,
Lefana.
long time, long time. Anyway, anyway, yeah, thank you, Prof. That you enjoy the performances, the videos that I showed. So how do the younger generation Peranakan express their identity? Okay. Just to clarify, I'm also a Peranakan. I'm from Malacca, and the group that I am. Wait, sorry, the camera is a bit. I'm not sure how to do this. Okay, the group that I study is also part of my parents who are also, involved in that group. So anyway, there were not many young people, of course, and whenever I did my fieldwork back then, I was the only young person there, and they were always telling me, "Oh, Rachel, you should bring more young people. We need more young people, and the people we are all old people, and we're all dying. We need more new things. Please compose new songs for us, and things like that." So, yeah, I guess for me, I find that it's important as well to how do you say, document these things, because as we go on, the songs will probably not be sung anymore. These songs are considered as old per se, and a lot of young people don't relate to the songs anymore, these popular songs that I talked about earlier in my presentation. And for the younger generation these days, I see most of them, not many of them though, just a few of them, they're more interested in material culture. They're more interested in collecting kebaya, the outfit that you see in the video that they wear, the vintage and old stuff. It's all this idea of nostalgia, remembering the past, and collecting old items, and showing them, showcase, and talking about. We have talks about, right, talking about kebayas, about sarongs, and things like that, and as well as cuisines. So not so much on the performing culture actually. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. And yeah, how are they different? Yeah, it's different that way. The older people love singing, they love dancing. It's like social dancing is really part of all their social events. And if I see a homogenization taking place among different Peranagans in Malaysia and Singapore, yes, very much. Since the establishment of the convention, they have this Peranakan convention annually, and it started off in 1980s. Of course, Prof, you know this, you wrote about this in your book. Yeah, and every year they would different communities from Penang, Malacca, from Singapore, and now they extend to Phuket as well, Indonesia. They would take turns to host this conference, and then through this conference or convention, you see that they start copying each other. They start to take the songs from each other. From Singapore, and the Penang people will sing songs from Singapore. The Malaccans will sing from Singapore, or Singapore will sing from the songs from Malacca. So it's this whole idea of homogenization happening right now, actually. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ms. Ong. Someone raised their hand. Let's hear from Great Lekaku.
For ratio.
Okay.
You answered some half my question, but anyways, you want to ask me a question. I just want to know about the change of media presentation or technologies, how it affects to the performance or concept and the way in which people think about Peranakan activity or community.
I'm not sure I understand your question though. You mean like how they use like media?
Yeah.
in that sense? Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking? Oh, okay.
For the
Um,
teenagers or the local people.
okay. I would say since like the pandemic, since the lockdown and everything, like Facebook is like the thing for the community, for sharing. They even have sessions like for sing along sessions on Facebook, and they sometimes do it on YouTube as well. And then they're through also WhatsApp, actually WhatsApp and Facebook, they use a lot of this. So these days a lot of things are happening on Facebook because of physical things cannot have take place now because of the pandemic. Yeah, so it's a lot more right now. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. I think I am afraid that's all we have, time we have for Q&A. There's no more question. Actually, there's another one for Dr. Baes, but that
Yeah,
question.
I read the question. Yeah, Dr. Raul, can you just answer her question for one sentence, okay? She was asking how these languages can be preserved. There's only one answer. Give them back their land. Give them back their land. And everything will fall into place.
Okay, thank you. To wrap up the session, we learned the issues regarding identity can be addressed by digging deeper into nostalgia and reminiscences, struggles, and performance of rituals through those aspects of culture we call sounds slash music and movement slash dance. For lack of time, I would like to tell the audience that other questions posted on the chat box will be addressed via email. We will have a 5-minute break before the start of panel 2 of the conference. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.